Hey everyone, welcome back to White Sparrow Living, Luke 12:6. I'm Wendy, and today is another Mystery Box Challenge Day. For those of you who are not familiar with how the Mystery Box Challenge works, Courtney over at Creative on the Cheap puts together a playlist of creators here on YouTube and then assigns each of us to send a box to somebody else, and then it goes around and around and around, and then somebody else will send a box to us. So this month, I sent my box to... Who did I send it to? So I sent my box to Tracy over at Country Charm Tracy, and then I got my box from Jennifer over at Little Bit of Calm and Crazy. So I just received mine last night and it was raining, so I do have a little bit of damage and it was soaking wet, but now it's all dried off. Also, as part of the Mystery Box Challenge, there's some voting involved on different categories. There's a printout that Courtney's made for you that you can print out while you're watching our videos, so you can keep notes and remember, because there's a whole lot of crafting going on here. Now the playlist will also be linked in the description box below, and that will take you in order of the videos, how they're linked. So like I sent mine to Tracy, you'll watch Tracy's, and then Tracy will have sent her box to somebody else, so that person will be next, and it'll just go in order all the way around until you get back to me. So you don't want to watch me twice. Well, you could if you want. So as you might know, each box is to contain 10 items, and this month Courtney went above and beyond in trying to make it difficult, not only for the receiver who has to craft with the items in their box, but also for the sender, because she's got things like a piece of clothing. Oh, and I should tell you, the theme for this month is travel. So she has a piece of clothing, a toiletry, electronic something or other, entertainment something or other, packing, and then we have 3 sender's choice, and then 2 challenge items. And those challenge items, one of them is also a sender's choice, and then the final challenge item is something that represents your state. And then just for good measure, she decided to throw another twist in there to make it even more difficult for us by assigning us all a certain country that we would have to represent in our DIY that is going to have to include one of the challenge items. So thank you, Courtney, for making it a challenge in every single way. So now I'm going to open my box that I got from Jennifer, and I think I accidentally opened it from the bottom because it was all mushy. Yeah, I did. Okay, so I'm going to close that back up, or maybe I'll just set it like this. Okay, so now that I have it open from the right side, well, I'm glad I did, because there's a sweet little note at the top, and her note says, "Wendy, I hope all is well with you and you're having a great start to this new year. Not gonna lie, Courtney's theme of travel was a hard one to shop for. However, I know that you are super creative and will knock this challenge out of the park. I can't wait to see what all you create. Happy crafting, Jennifer, a little bit of calm and crazy." There's not really an A in front of it. It's a little bit of calm and crazy. I don't know about you, but in our household for 2025 so far, there's been a little bit of calm and a whole lot of crazy. Just saying. All right, so, whoa, there's some jiggling going on in here. So I'm not really sure what to pull out first. Oh, she marked them too. Okay, good. So we have, for the toiletry, we have a travel brush set. Let me take this off. She marked them all so sweetly. Travel brushes, and I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. Oh, uh-oh. This is going to be hard. Okay. Well, at least it's pink. I love that. Oh, you see what I'm saying? This is going to be a challenge. I see something cute over here. Oh, oh. Oh, this came undone. Sorry. A packing item. And she sent 3 little bags. These are super cute. I have not seen these, but I also noticed there's some really cutie patootie ribbon here. So this is the packing item. Oh dear. And then we have sender's choice, and oh, these are adorable. She sent some sweet little stickers, just some inspirational things. Can you see that? That's super cute. Okay. No, it's not that bad. I need more of these. Electronic. Okay, this is, uh-oh. This is a mic cover, you know, the little foamy thing so that you can't hear your P words as hard. You know what I'm talking about? Oh dear. You know, one of these. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, so here's challenge item number 1, something that represents her state, and she is the Lone Star State. I'm gonna set that aside and grab about, I'm sure this is a piece of clothing, yep. And it's a really pretty color gray here. It's a t-shirt, so I'm sure we probably all sent the same thing. So, okay, this is good. I like this. We can just use this for some kind of fabric or something. Here is challenge item number 2, and this is Cinder's Choice. And look how sweetly she wrapped it. How cute. Oh, this is cute. Cinder's Choice. And it's something normal. Thank goodness she had a lot of Cinder's Choices in there. This is really cute. Okay, entertainment. Ah, this is cute. This is Dollar Tree. I haven't seen this. It's a tic-tac-toe set. I want to see inside. This is really cute. Ooh, they're little X's and O's. I have not seen these. Huh. And then here's another Cinder's Choice, and it's just a box. This is really pretty with some gold foil filigree on here. Okay, so this is not too bad. I think it was harder for her to pick these things out than it will be to hopefully craft with them. Okay, so I'm gonna scooch all that aside, and then we're going to open challenge item number 1. And this is the one that's gonna represent her Lone Star State of Texas. I was really excited about mine that I sent to Tracy. So hopefully she'll like that. Ooh, this is pretty paper too. Oh, very nice, Jennifer. It is the galvanized, why does it say icon? Galvanized icon, otherwise known as galvanized stars. Perfect. That'll be fun. But what I really noticed was this pretty paper. Maybe I can use that in something. It's like an old ledger paper, some vintage stuff with a really pretty rose on it. Okay, so I'm gonna set that aside. And then we have challenge number 2, super cute ribbon. Uh-oh. Okay, so it's the travel theme. I get this. So if you're going to Hawaii, we have a beautiful plastic pom-pom lei in rainbow. This is really, really cute. But I really have no idea what to do with this. Okay, well, that's what these tests are for. It's not as challenging as the armadillo, I don't think, but we shall see. It's hard to continue with the video because your brain starts going and I'm trying to already calculate and think of what I could possibly do with these things. That's what makes this so much fun. So we'll see what we come up with. Okay, is there anything else I need to go over? All the links are going to be down below, and I think that's it. All right, so now without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to start out using this tic-tac-toe box, and I didn't show you guys really closely what it looked like when I first got it because I was so excited. But inside you see that you've got the X's and O's, and then the lid just goes right on top so that you can keep it all together. That's super fun. And then we're going to use this crystal or, glass candle holder that you see in a lot of our projects here. And then a snowman cut out from Christmas time. I'm going to use that as a little finial or something for the top of this. And then I always have these prayer cards on hand. I keep some right next to in my desk drawer. Anytime I'm sending out a note or a Perky prize or even sometimes just sending bills out, I'll use one of these and just pick one out randomly and place it inside the envelope or package. And then that way, whoever's the receiver is going to get a little sweet something from Jesus. And I never change, or I don't change what the scripture is that I put in there because that's between him and the receiver. And then I'm also going to be using this magnetic little clip, and you can get these without the magnet on the back, but that was all I had, so that's what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to use my Waverly chalk paint in white, and I'm going to paint the entire box. And this usually takes about a coat and a half. And when I say half, I just mean I'll go over some areas that are a little light. I'm going to paint all of the box, including the sides. And then I'm going to paint my glass candle holder as well as my little snowman and get those all pretty white. And then the cover, I'm going to go ahead and paint that just on the front to cover up the little tic-tac-toe lines. And I'm not going to do the sides because I want that lid to still fit inside my box. So now I'm going to take these prayer cards and I'm going to use my paper cutter to just slice those down a little bit so that they'll fit inside of my box with the lid on. And then to give it a little hinge, I'm going to take some duct tape and just put it half onto the piece of wood or the lid, what is the lid, and then I'll cut that down to make it the right size. You could add some hot glue on this just to make it stay even better, but I'm going to put the other side on the inside of the box so that that lip will still have the lid go inside of it. Does that make sense? Anyway, then I'm just going to make sure that that closes up tightly and you can just pull it open. I'm making sure that the little notches are at the top and the bottom so that I can open that once it's attached to my candle holder. And then to give this some rustic prettiness, I'm going to take my sanding sponge and sand everything down in the areas where it would get worn most likely. So on the edges and in the corners. And then on my candle holder, I'll just rub some of that paint off. Even though it's glass, it kind of just reads as wood or something to show the distressed look of it. And then I'm going to take some permanent adhesive and attach the top finial. I didn't add any hot glue because I didn't want to mix it. So that'll come apart sometimes, you know, until it dries about 24 hours. And then I'm also going to use the permanent adhesive and hot glue to attach my little clip at the top of my sign. And then I'll take that and attach it to the top of my candle holder. And I want the front to have the overlap so that I can add some prettiness inside of there. So now I'm going to take some Dollar Tree greenery and just cut off some little sprigs here and there. And these are small enough that it won't overwhelm the piece in the front because I still want my card to show once I get it clipped in there. So I just want some added greenery and prettiness at the bottom here. So I'll just tuck it in with some hot glue into that little space that I left from the candle holder. And then it'll stay all snug as a bug in a rug. And then I'm going to take some Dollar Tree ribbon. This is 5/8 inch ribbon. I think it's the prettiest color of rose or whatever this color is. I'll just make a sweet little bow and then attach that to the top of my clip and then glue the sides kind of streaming down on both sides, but still leaving room for my card to clip in there. And then you can see we have our extras in the back, and then I can change this every day, every week. But here it is all finished, and I just love how this turned out. I think it's so sweet. And you can coordinate the ribbon and the flowers to go with whichever set of cards you use. But I love how this turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. So now for our next project, I'm going to be using the filigree box that Jennifer sent me along with the X's and O's from that tic-tac-toe set. And this is super easy, but I really needed this for my own purposes. I'm going to paint my box completely white, and I'm going to do the lid with the color Truffle in the same chalk paint by Waverly. And I didn't change my brush out. I used the same one that I used when I painted the box white so that I would get some, you know, grain in there so it looks a little bit like wood and give it that two-tone effect. So once everything's dry, I'm going to take my craft knife and cut a rectangle into the top. I need a Kleenex box that's a little more cutie patootie than the kind you just get at the store, because my uncle always needs his Kleenex right next to him on the couch. So this is going to be perfect to take care of that and have some cuteness to it. So I'm going to take my X's and O's, and there's exactly enough to do an X and O in an alternate pattern. Now, one thing I did kind of mess up on is I didn't have the lid on when I put my first X's on there, so it was raised a little bit. So I'll have to fix that later, but you get the idea here. I'm just going to take my hot glue and attach those to the sides, and then I'll do 3 on the front, 3 on the back, and then 2 on each of the sides. And you just do XO, XO. I thought this was so cute, and I didn't have to paint them. They were the perfect color and look so pretty on top of the white. Now, to make sure that my paint doesn't scratch off, I'm going to use some Mod Podge and just go over that. I gave it a pretty generous amount, and this is the matte type from Dollar Tree. So I'll just brush that right over the top of all of my brown area. The sides you shouldn't really touch too much, so that shouldn't come off, but if you wanted to do the whole thing, you could do that too. So I'm going to take out some of these Kleenexes and I'll just kind of unwrap them and put them inside. Now, it doesn't take the whole box because it's a little too tight, so just put, you know, some of them in, and then just pop that first one right through the lid. And you can see I was a little too impatient and didn't want to wait till it was all the way dry, but they come out beautifully. And now I have a custom tissue box for my uncle's seat right next to him. I love it, and I hope you guys like it too. So now we're going to be using the little beaded plaque that Jennifer sent, and this is definitely a project that you can replicate because it's exact as far as like how many beads are on this. There's a total of 24 beads, so I'm going to go every 6 beads and make a little dot right in between the 2. So once I get those all marked out, I'm going to take my drill and drill a hole right in between, and I'm actually touching in between those 2 beads where they are so that you can feel it's a little snugged up against them, and I'll just make that hole go right inside. So I'll have a total of 8 holes altogether. And I'm going to protect my surface by putting my piece of holy wood underneath so that I don't dig into my desk. So now I need a little gap underneath my tray, and so I'm going to use some hot glue and permanent adhesive and take some wood beads and just put 4 of them on the bottom side of this, and you'll see why we need that little gap. Of course, it's cute because it's raised a little bit, but also it's going to be functional for when we put some wire in there. That'll make sense in just a second. So now I'm going to take some chalk paint and I'm just going to kind of dry brush this all over the beads and the wood and along the sides, and that way it's going to match my living room a little bit better. Now I'm going to show you how this turns out 2 different ways. So I'm kind of making this into a little bit of a springy type video because of the springtime, and I'm so excited that that's coming soon and the warmer weather, but you can also use this for as non-seasonal. It's cute both ways, so I'll show you without the springiness and with the springiness. So I'm going to be using this 14 gauge wire that I got from Amazon, and I'll have this linked in the description box below along with everything else I'm using in this video. And this is pretty heavy duty. The lower the number, the sturdier it is as far as the gauge. But it's still pliable enough that you can move it and manipulate it to bend it to the shape that you want. So I'm going to take my first strand and I'm just going to cut down 4 more pieces, or 4 pieces altogether. 2, 4, 6, 8, yeah, and kind of manipulate them so that they get into the shape that I want to make this little bird cage. And then just so that you guys can make this too exactly to specs here, these are about 30 inches long, and that's going to give me enough to poke it through my holes but also fold it at the bottom. So now you see why we needed the wooden beads there, so that it's lifted a little bit. And then when I poke my wires down, I'll hit my surface or my table, and then that's how much I'll be able to push over to keep it snug as a bug in a rug. Now at first I was using my needle nose pliers to bend it, but I found that I was strong enough if I used my muscles to push those down, and then they'll stay in place. So I'm going to do that on all 4 pieces of wire. And then they're going to overlap at the top in the middle. So some will be a little bit longer and shorter. You know, if you're going on top of the others, it'll be a little bit shorter at the bottom when you push that over. Does that make sense? I don't know if I explained that right, but you see what I'm doing here. And they're all going to crisscross eventually at the top. And then once they're all attached through the bottom part of my base, then we'll attach it at the top and keep them all together and cover it up as well. So now to keep these all together at the top where they're crisscrossing each other, I'm going to take a piece of paddle wire and just run that through at the top so that they all stay together. And then I'm going to take some more of that paddle wire and I'll feed one end through the same hole that I went in with my wire, and then start wrapping it around my thicker wire, and just to give it some more cuteness and some texture. And I did some where it was a little bit tighter together, and then some where it's a little bit looser and more messy looking. You'll see what I mean here, but I just thought this was really cute and added a little touch of rustic-y goodness. And when I get to the end, I'm going to take that extra paddle wire and run it around the little piece that we bent on the bottom of the base. These are so much easier to just watch than to try and explain. And then I'm going to take one more piece of that 14 gauge galvanized wire and add that to the top so that I have something to stick my little birdie on. And here's our sweet little birdie. We're going to take him and we're going to paint him. I'm also going to be painting the bird cage itself. So I'm going to leave him on his paper. He's a clippy kind. And it always pains me, but I'm going to cut off his back little whatever, his tail thingy, his tail feathers. Shake your tail feathers. I'm going to cut those off with my scissors, and then we'll paint those in just a second. So I'm going to take my truffle chalk paint and paint all of the wires that we just made for our bird cage and just paint that all up. This takes a little time. It's okay if some of that galvanized metal shows through, but I kind of liked it just completely solid. I thought that was really pretty. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to also paint my bird, and I'm using the white chalk paint again. And then once he's completely painted white, but before it dries, I'll take the paintbrush that I used to paint my bird cage with the truffle on it, and just give him some highlights, or I guess those would be dark lights, I don't know. But just to give him a little more shadowing, and kind of makes it look like he's made out of concrete. So now I'm going to take some floral foam, and I'm just going to add a dot of glue, because if I ever want to take this out and use this for a candle or something, I can do that. And then I'm going to take some of this Spanish moss and hot glue that to my floral foam, and then just kind of tuck it around so that it stays inside of the beaded edge that I have on the plaque. And then once I get that all in there, I'm going to take some scrap pieces of lamb's ear and poke those in and get that all filled in. And then I'm going to take some of these white bellflowers and cut off little stems of those. And I pulled out the leaves because I didn't really like them, or they didn't go with the lamb's ear, I didn't think. And I'll just tuck those in between all of that lamb's ear for that prettiness. And then now that my birdie is dry, I'm going to pull out the clip, but I'm going to make a little hole to see where it's going to go on the top of my bird cage, and then I'll take a little screwdriver and bore out that hole, and then add some hot glue and put him on top. And here it is, all finished with the regular non-seasonal goodness that we're going to add in just a second. I don't even have it really staged right. This is like leftovers from another project, and you know, it's all over the place, but I just wanted you to see this without the springiness that we're going to add in just a second. But look how pretty this is just as is, with those monotone colors and prettiness. So now we're going to add that springiness, and I took this little bouquet from the Dollar Tree, and I liked how it was already set up, so I'm going to try and keep it that way. And then I'm going to also take these pink Easter eggs. They're kind of wrapped in a pink string. I'm going to pull those flowers apart apart, but kind of keep them in the same arrangement that they already are. And then I took a pink daisy, and I'm going to use that for the bottom portion. I took a nylon zip tie and put those inside, or put that around it, and then I'm going to wrap it around the side of one of those rungs of my bird cage, but I'm not going to tighten it all the way until I get that little daisy going up the other, from the bottom, so that it looks all nice and finished. And then I'm going to take my styrofoam eggs and I'll cut those dowels down and poke those in at the bottom. And then finally I'm going to take some baby's breath and cut those down. These are from Dollar Tree. I like using the Walmart kind when you're going to see more of the stem. This I don't mind because it's kind of hidden. So I'm going to tuck those in there for some prettiness. And then I'm going to take the ribbon that Jennifer sent me on the packing pouches that we'll use in another project. And it was really crumply and wrinkled, so I'm going to take my flat iron, and on a low setting I'm going to get that all straightened out. And just so you can recycle any of your ribbons after they've been all knotted up and wrinkled. So I'm going to make a sweet little bow and attach that to the side above my little side piece. And here it is all done, and I think this is so pretty, and I love the springiness of this. But again, like I said, you can just do the monotone with the bellflowers in there and the lamb's ear, or you could just not have anything at the bottom and stick a candle in there, or a little figurine, maybe a teeny tiny little book, whatever you want, but you can use this for anything. I love how this turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. Okay, so now we're going to use one of the challenge items that Jennifer sent. I'm going to be using this galvanized star, and I have to use one of these challenge items in the twist, which is to do a DIY inspired by the country I was assigned, which was England. So I'm going to be using this little teacup, and that's an English thing. So this was one of my Aunt Jeannie's teacups. So I'm going to take my galvanized star and cut out a little tea bag, or in the shape of a tea bag. I started by trying to use my tin snips. Well, these are not really tin snips, but it was easier to use my Old Faithful scissors. So I just did that and cut that down to a little, what looks like a tea bag, I think. Anyway, it will when I'm done with it. So now I'm going to take my Crop-o-Dile, and again, I'll have this linked in the description box below, because this guy is spring-loaded and you can make holes or put rivets in or eyelets or whatever your heart desires with this. So I was just able to make a little hole at the top of my tea bag. And then I'm going to paint this with my white chalk paint. Again, I was fine with having some of that galvanized metal peek through, so I'm just going to paint it on both sides and just get it nice and rusticy looking. And then I'm going to take the sticker sheet that Jennifer sent, and I'm going to use the one that says Faith on it. And I just pulled it right off of the sticker sheet and kind of ripped it. It was in the form of was part of a sign on this sticker thing. So I'm just going to cut that down and get rid of the two little posts that are above and below it. And now that my paint is dry, I'm going to stick that right on top. And it's got like a little lifter in there, so there's a little piece of adhesive, so it kind of pops up, and it was perfect for this. And then I'm going to take my white string and I'm going to fold it over and then pop it inside of the hole, and then pull the rest of it through so that it stays in place. And then just to give it a little bit of an outline, I'm going to take a Dollar Tree upholstery pen, and this is in the color walnut, and just give that a little distressing on the outside of my tea bag. And then I'm going to take a piece of Scotch tape and attach it on the inside of my teacup and let it hang over kind of to the side, just like a normal tea bag would. So now I'm going to take a little Dollar Tree cross, and I'm going to use the paper that Jennifer wrapped it was the stars, yeah, that she wrapped the stars in. And I want that rose to be part of the cross, so I'm going to trace around it and then cut that out. And I'm going to have part of that rose just on my cross and put that just on the front side of my cross. And the wood of the cross kind of works with the color of the paper, so I didn't even paint that, even if you see it on the back, which you don't, because I'm going to put some pretties inside, but I'm just going to leave that wood in the natural color. And then I'm going to take some Mod Podge and attach that paper to my cross. And then I'll use my sanding sponge and get the excess paper off of the edges and give it a finished edge. So now I'm going to take some styrofoam, and these are just little pieces I had cut down. You could also use floral foam for this, and I'm just going to hot glue these into my little teacup. And you guys have seen me use teacups and coffee cups to decorate and put pretties inside, so this was the perfect project. So now I'm going to take a little popsicle stick and attach it to the back of my cross and then poke that right into that styrofoam. And because England's national flower is the rose, I'm going to take some white Dollar Tree roses and poke those right into that styrofoam, right around the base of my cross. And then I'll take some more of the lamb's ear and cut those down and add those in there as well. And then I found this little sprig of something or other, like little willows or something. I'm just going to pull those all apart and poke some of those in. I get a lot of things gifted to me, and very nice Perky prizes that come in all the time, and I love that, and I thank everybody for those. But that's why I can't tell you where they're from. I have no idea. So I'm going to use a couple of these and poke them in there. But I'm going to also add some of these Dollar Tree little berries in the off-white color. And I like things to go in threes, but you see I did 3 on one side and 2 on the other, so as long as it's an odd number, I think it's really pleasing to the eye. And then I'm going to take that ribbon that Jennifer sent on her package, and it was the perfect color to coordinate with my cross. I'm just going to tie that into a sweet little bow on the handle and then cut the edges down at an angle, and it's done. And here it is, all finished, and I think this is a wonderful and super pretty representation of my assigned country of England. I know I have some people from England that are watching this today. I love it, and I hope you like it too. So I have to tell you, I was truly stumped on what to do with these 2 items. I am not kidding. This was the hardest. These should have been the challenge items, I'm telling you. I'm going to end up not using the outside part of the makeup brushes, but I'll use that in another project. But at this point, I had planned to use it. So I'm going to take a glass from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be painting the bottom part with my Waverly chalk paint in ink, which is just black. And I'm just going to do a ring around the bottom. And I can just do this by hand because I'm going to be covering up that seam, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to take my chalk paint in crimson, which is really just red, and I'm going to do the bottom half of my cup. Did I say the other part was the bottom? Well, you know what I mean. So the black is on the top and the red is on the bottom. And this covers pretty well just with one coat, but I will go back and cover up any parts that are, you know, showing through or a little light. And then I'm going to take my 2 smaller brushes and I'm going to paint those red as well. And here I'm painting my box in the white. That's not going to stay that way, and I'll show you that later. So now I'm going to take some white and a little bit of French linen and mix that together to get kind of a flesh tone, and I'm going to make a little face at the bottom of my cup. Now this is why I was getting confused as to what was the top and what was the bottom, because our bottom is going to be the top of this project. So now I'm going to take my scissors and just cut off the brush part of these little brushes, and I'm going to take my hot glue and a teeny tiny little wood bead. I think these are 1/2 inch or maybe 1/4 inch. I don't know, but you see what size they are, and glue those to the ends, and that's going to become, should I tell you now? Have you guys already guessed what this is going to be? It's making me giggle again. But anyway, I'll wait till the end. And then I'm going to take some gold ribbon from the Dollar Tree and just hot glue that to the ends right below our little beads. And I'm leaving a little bit of the red showing, and then I'll just glue that on the other side to cover that little area. And I'll do the same thing on the other one. So now I'm going to take some white grosgrain ribbon, again from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cover up that seam. My lines were pretty darn good though, I will tell you. So I'm just going to hot glue that around the back side of our little glass. I will tell you guys that this is kind of related to our previous project, if you haven't figured it out yet. So I'm going to take my paint pen in black and make a line all the way down, right in the middle between our little face and the line of his belt. And I'm giving it away. And then I took a line of these gold rhinestones from the Dollar Tree. I just cut a slice down, and then I'm going to hot glue that on one side of that line. And so now this is going to give it away. My mic cover is going to go right on top of his little head. And then I'm going to make a little smiley face again with my paint pen. And this is becoming a little British soldier, if you couldn't tell. And then I'll take my little brushes, which are his arms, and I'll hot glue those to each side of his body. And look how cute he is. Oh my goodness. I love him so much. I guess I had England on my mind, and so this was all I could think of. I did have a couple of other ideas, but I thought this was by far my favorite. And so anyway, I love how this turned out, and I hope you guys like him too. So you kind of got a little glimpse of what we're going to be making now. I'm using a scrap piece of foam board from the Dollar Tree, and then I had this old frame in my stash. It's super dusty and has been in storage for quite a while. I used it for something else a while back, and so I'm just going to clean this up and use it. This was actually gifted to me from a friend, and I painted it white for something else. And once I get it all cleaned up, I'm going to take my t-shirt and use it with this picture frame. Now, I was at a Ross's Dress for Less a while back, and I saw this really pretty horsey print, or not print, but picture, I guess. And I loved how this had the textured lines, and I knew I wanted to recreate this at some point, but since I have this fabric and it's not the beigey color, it is gray, but I think it's still going to look good and work for the, well, I know it's going to look good because I already did it, but that's just what was on my brain. So I'm going to cut out a piece that's going to fit the backboard of my frame, and I'm just going to cut that down and hot glue that on all four sides and get it super tight. And most of the wrinkles were out of it from pulling it so tightly. But I'm going to go ahead and use my little mini iron to make sure that all of the creases are out, and then I'll replace it back in my frame and then cut down that excess. So now I'm going to try and trace out something that resembles this horsey. And, this took a little while. I had it up on my computer monitor so I could just kind of copy it, but you could print this off of your computer, or find another horse or maybe even a different animal and do this project, because I think it turns out really cute. But I'm just gonna keep doing this and keep working at it until I get it to the right look that I want, and then I'll just go back and erase all of the lines that I was scratching on there, and the bad lines, and until I get it to where it's something that I can actually cut out with my craft knife and my scissors. So cutting foam board is kind of a tricky business, but on some pieces it's easier with the scissors, and you know, these are my Old Faithful scissors and they cut through pretty much anything, but sometimes it's hard to cut the straight pieces because it's a longer run. So I'll use my craft knife to do those parts. And I just took my time. I love how this is sped up for you guys because you don't see how long and tedious it takes. But I'm just gonna get this all the way cut down. And I did put my lines in where I'm gonna put those, you know, the textured lines that you saw in the original picture. And then that way I'll know where to add that texture. So once I got that finally cut out, I'm going to take some sandpaper and run it around the edges just to get rid of that excess paper, and it's not as rough when you use the sandpaper. We're going to add some caulking, and this is from Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut that tip at an angle so that I kind of have a line, you know, a bead going around there, but I can also mush it down as I'm going over that caulking. Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying? It's like pointed, and so I'm able to squeeze it out, and then the tip of my plastic piece will kind of mush it down so it looks like your finger is going through it, like the inspiration piece. So I'm just going to keep doing this, and this was so much fun. I'm just going to add texture just as I see it. It's not as good as the original piece, but when you're dealing with art, everything is subjective. So I don't know. I just love how it turned out. And it was super fun to do because it's almost like finger painting. So now I'm going to take my white chalk paint and I'm just going to paint over all of my mastic and the board, and I went along the edges to make sure that those look like they're all finished as well and doesn't look like a piece of foam board. And also, anytime you're painting this or those boards, you know, the flat boards that you see at Dollar Tree, if you paint both sides, it won't curl up. So once I have one side painted, I'll paint the other side, and then I won't have a curved piece of foam board. So now that it's all dry, I'm going to take my hot glue and put that right in the corner, and it is done. And here it is, all finished. And I think the original piece, if I remember right, it was $32.99, something like that. We spent, well, zero. A t-shirt, so $1.25, and then I had this, you know, frame on hand and a scrap piece of, well, and then I had to pay for the mastic or the caulking, so I guess it did cost a couple bucks. But anyway, I love how it turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. So now we're going to be using the 3 little pouches that Jennifer sent me, and I really like these because they have a neat texture on them, you know, kind of like a grid. I thought about painting these, and then this was another one that kind of stumped me, but what I'm going to do is give it a flat bottom, and I'm going to do that by kind of folding over about 2.5 inches at the bottom for the big one, and I'm going to make those lines, and I'm doing this super slowly for you because you can do this with any flat bag. If you just kind of fold it over and then you have little tips, you know, the little triangles at the edges there, you can fold those over and hot glue them, and then now you've got a flat bag. So I'm going to do that for all 3 of my little pouches. So I had originally planned to use these as a little herb garden, and I'm putting some ventilation at the bottom. Now you guys know I cannot grow anything, but I can do a little bit of the basil, but I'm just gonna put some rocks at the bottom. I was kind of playing with the colors of these and because it's see-through. But anyway, I changed and pivoted on this just because I didn't want to go out and get the dirt. So instead, I'm going to fill it with some floral moss from the Dollar Tree, and I tucked that in there. In the end, I will have to add some styrofoam or floral foam down below. You'll see why in a second, but I'm just going to fill it up. But if you did want to use this as a little herb garden and maybe use some basil, mint, or rosemary, or whatever else you can think of, you could just put the dirt in there. And I think with the ventilation of the rocks at the bottom, they would last for quite a while. But since I don't have a green thumb, I'm going to go with what I know I won't kill. And I'm just going to use some super colorful Dollar Tree flowers and just cut those off and put those into the floral foam or the floral moss. And then because the zippers were colorful, that's why I kind of wanted to play with the colorfulness of this. So while I don't usually like to use the bright colors of flowers because, they look fake, well, I thought this was perfect for this project because I am going to embrace that color. And for spring, I think it's perfect. So I'm going to use some of these really pretty blue dahlias. And I think I have this right. Well, you'll see in a second. There's dahlias, hydrangeas, and I can't remember the third one. We'll see it in a second because I have to write it down. But anyway, and I did keep the little tags from them because I don't know my flowers very well. So anyway, just to make it a little more springy, I have these moss-covered little bunnies. And I only had 2, which was kind of a bummer. But I'm going to use the stems where I cut off some of these flowers and use that as the pick for my little bunnies. So I'll just take off the excess stems and then poke it into the bunny and stick it into my little pouches. Now here's why I needed to use some floral foam. I found these at Dollar Tree a couple of years ago and I've never used them. So I thought these were so stinking cute and super colorful. I love these. But I'm going to use the tags, but I'm going to turn them around and just write what these types of flowers are. So, peonies, that was the other one. Okay, and I also color coordinated the signs so that the pink will go with the pink flowers, the blue with the blue flowers, and the yellow with the green flowers, but I didn't have a green. So I thought that was really cute too. And I just happened to have those colors. So I had to cut down the little holders, and once I stuck it in there, I saw it was a little bit too heavy, so that's why I had to add some floral foam down below to hold those little guys up. And here they are all finished, and I think these are so adorable, and you see why it didn't matter what I put inside of there. They don't show, or the little rocks don't show too terribly much, but I think these would really be super functional if you did use them as a little herb garden. But how springy is this? I love these, and I hope you guys like them too. So now I'm going to use this little bamboo cutting board and the makeup case or the brush case that I had originally planned to use for another project. I'm not even going to tell you what I was going to use it for, but I'm going to use the paper again that Jennifer sent, and I'm going to cover the whole little makeup case. And then I'm just using some Scotch tape and basically just wrapping it like a present. But I'll cut the little sides and the corners so that you don't see that it's actually paper. I guess you can tell it's paper, but I'm just kind of making it look like it's painted wood or something, or wood with a design on it, but you won't see any of this tape. And then there's a little tabby at the bottom where it clicks together when it closes. So I'm just going to use my wire cutters to take that off. And then it's at a 90-degree angle. So I'm gonna put the thicker part towards the back of my bamboo cutting board, and then I'll just hot glue that on there. And then I'm gonna take a battery operated light or candle from the Dollar Tree and just wrap some jute twine around there and make a sweet little bow. And now I have a sweet little sconce that I can use in any corner. If I had 2 of these and some more of this paper, I would make a little set because I think this is really cute. I love it, and I hope you guys like it too. So this Hawaiian lei really gave me a run for my money, and I wasn't sure if I could paint this. I was thinking about spray painting it, but I decided to go another route and just embrace the rainbow. So I'm going to take another piece of foam board and I'm going to trace out something that resembles a cloud. And so I just did some little bumpity bumps. I wanted it to be kind of a longer cloud. I think this would be really cute in a nursery or kids' bedroom. My childhood bedroom, actually, FYI, a little trivia for you, was done in rainbows way back when, and my mom decorated it. Oh, it was so good. I wish I had a picture of it. But anyway, I'm going to cut this out with my craft knife, and then I'm going to go back in with my sanding sponge to soften those edges. And then I have this Dollar Tree cloud that lights up, a little marquee light that I've had for a little while that I've never been able to use. I always thought it was so cute though. So I'm going to put this right in the middle of my cloud. Now the on and off switch and the battery pack is in the back, so I'm going to cut out a little rectangle so that I can turn it on and off whenever I want to and change that battery out. But I'm going to wait to attach it to my cloud until I do a little more work. So you guys know I don't like to really measure anything, but I am going to get the middle of my cloud at the bottom, and then I'm going to go in 1.25 inches on each side and then go in between each of those marks. So whatever size cloud you do, just, measure it in half and then in half again from each side in. And then that's going to give me 5 little spots. So I'm going to take my screwdriver and just poke some holes into each of those 5 spots, very low towards the bottom. And that's where I'm going to hang my little pom-poms. So to do that, because my lei, because the pom-poms are all together with a string, I'm going to cut in between each of them, and you can see they'll fall apart if you don't hold them together. So I'm going to take my big fat needle and I'm going to put some string in there, and I'm just going to go right through the middle of each of those pom-poms and then feed it onto my string. And I'm going to do that so that they're in the order of the rainbow, so red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. But I'm going to make little sections because I only have so many. I'm going to do 2 of them with 4 pom-poms on them, and then 2 of them with 5 pom-poms on them, and then 1 with all 6 colors of the pom-poms, or all 6 colors of the rainbow. And this way I can space them out and move them up and down that string so that I get them to the right spacing that I need that will be proportionate with my foam board cloud. And then once I get them in the order that I want and how, they're going to go 4 on the outsides, and then the ones with 5 in between, and then the one with the 6 colors is going to go on the middle, so that, it's going to kind of swag. You'll see what I mean. I'm not explaining this very well. This is my last project, and so I'm a little tired. So once I get those on there, I'm going to take my Scotch tape and tape it onto the back of my foam board. And then just to make sure the strings don't slip out from behind the tape, I'll make a little knot, and then that way, it stays snug as a bug in a rug. And then I'll cut off the excess. And then at the bottom, once I get the right spacing, I'm going to make another knot so that they don't come off at the bottom. And then I'm going to trace around my little cloud so that I see where not to write. And then I took my Sharpie and wrote the scripture, "I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth." and that's Genesis 9:13. And I accidentally put, and it will be a sign, but it's supposed to be the sign. But it was a little too late and I couldn't erase that. So now I had planned to do this on my CRICUT, but I had a major computer malfunction, and so I wasn't able to cut this out. And I think it would have been even cuter if I would have cut it out with my vinyl, but I didn't want to let it stop me. So I'm going to take my hot glue and attach my little cloud right in the middle. And then I'm going to take that same Sharpie and I'm going to go around the edge of my cloud just to give it some more definition. And then I'll trace around my light up cloud as well, just for some more cuteness. And here it is, all finished, and I think this turned out so pretty. I love this, and I'm so glad that Jennifer sent this to me. It really had me stumped for a minute, but all of these had me stumped. This was the hardest mystery box challenge I have ever done. I hope you guys enjoyed all of these projects, and if you did, don't forget to give them a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think. If you're not already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button down below, as well as the little bell right next to it so that you can be notified every time I upload a brand new video. Don't forget to click on the playlist down below. Thank you to Courtney for letting me join in on the fun once again this month. I hope everyone has a blessed day, and remember to always be the light. Bye!